Anyway, okay, and scene.
Ugh, I'm not going to the gym. Not me. Not me saying that when we just talk about physical health.
Audio Jungle.
Live again.
Okay.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Experts About Nothing. Woo! Oh god.
I'm here, everyone. Hey.
Guess who's back? This is very exciting for me because I don't think I'm ready to do another solo episode. But anyway,
I missed you guys.
we miss Preecha. Some background, this is the first time me and Priya have recorded in 2 months.
I know. Sorry for a little rusty.
So let's start with what happened in the last 2 months.
Yeah, let's catch up, shall we? It's been a very interesting 2 months. As you guys know, Diksha was in India for part of it.
Yes.
We moved apartments during these 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go home for an extended period of time and travel quite a bit. So I was really all over the place until 2 weeks ago. Like, that is when I came back to New York. And then right when I touched down, we got COVID.
By that, me and Prachi gave Priya COVID the minute she actually came to New York. So before Priya did anything after her whole hiatus, we gave her COVID and said you have to stay home for 10 days now.
That is correct. And you know what? We conquered COVID. It was not fun. Everyone still be safe out there on these streets. It's not a good time. Yeah, so honestly, the past 2 weeks, I felt like I was still in a trance because we were quarantining and sick and, like, getting over all of this. So this past week has kind of felt like the first real week I've been back into, like, somewhat of a flow. Which is really
also
nice.
just had energy. Like, I feel like we've had just a draining amount of things to do. And it was, like, a combination of fun things and then just, like, stressful things. But now we're back and ready to commit ourselves again to the pod.
Yeah, that is right. And we have a fun episode for you guys today. Kind of spurred from the experience we've had for the past 2 months because we've just been running around and kind of stressed about all of the things we feel like we're dropping the ball on. Like, the pod was honestly one of them. But it's like work and your side hustles or like your hobbies, friendships, social activities. And I feel like all of those stresses are kind of amplified during the summer because we expect the summer to be the best time of our lives every year.
Yes. And something we were talking about planning this episode was just how we're just kind of conditioned to think that we have to capitalize on every summer the most out of, like, the year. Just because growing up, summer vacation would be the most amazing time where you don't have to worry about school and you didn't have too many priorities. It was just about having fun. But the reality is summer now, as an adult, is very different just because most of us are working 9 to 5s, like, year-round. But we still have, like, that intrinsic want to make summer absolutely amazing. And, like, also just because the weather's so much nicer now, like, we've just been understanding that we kind of should be relaxing throughout the year instead of packing everything into our summers. And yeah, that's just why summer just becomes kind of a very stressful season.
So we're going to talk through our thought process on how to unwind some of that stress and also try to just live a relaxed and healthy life throughout the summer and still have fun and still do all the things that you want to get done. But before that, Diksha has this airport story that she needs to share with me that she hasn't been divulging, so I would like to hear it.
Oh shit, yeah. This is the most chaotic story, and this is my airport story coming back from India. I had the most insane taxi ride of my absolute life. It took me an hour and a half to get my bags after this flight.
Yeah,
totally
classic.
fine. It was like a packed flight. Fine. Then I have a meeting at 11 and I did something super stupid and decided to work the day I came back because I was like, oh, I'll be jet lagged anyway. Might as well just work throughout the day. So I was just like, okay, I just need to make my first meeting at 11. Got at the airport at like 8:30. I was like, okay, I'm just going to taxi because it's a flat rate. I go into the taxi line. The guy assigns me the only taxi there. Luckily, there was one there. Apparently, they're far and few. I go to this taxi guy, and he's, like, really jolly, and he's like, this fun Greek man that's like lived in New York for a long time. Mm-hmm. And he's like an older man. He's a grandpa. Okay. Like he has grandkids.
Okay.
So I get in the car and he's super nice. He like handles my bags for me. I like get in, I tell him where I need to go, and he's like, he doesn't take my address. He's just like, okay, yeah, Tribeca. I know where Tribeca is. And then he just goes. Like a side point to this, I have extreme motion sickness that has developed in the last couple years.
She really does.
Also, like 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. So I'm like, oh my God, I should have expected the traffic to kind of be crazy.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. And I don't have like any of my bags next to me. They're all in the back with all my luggage. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll just like brace through this car ride. And I'm feeling a little bit nauseous. Could also be a headache from like lack of sleep on the plane. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sleep during this car ride. The man starts pressing the accelerator aggressively. I literally am like, oh no, the one taxi driver I got is a maniac. Immediately, I start feeling nausea from motion sickness, and I'm like, oh God. This whole time, the man, he is like talking. I can't like fully understand every word he's saying, mainly because I have a really bad headache. I'm trying to close my eyes, but I don't want to be disrespectful. But he's like continuing chatting, and he's like, you know, like this part of New York, my church is in Chinatown. This. He's like telling me his son is a doctor. He's like explaining methods he uses to like stay away from COVID. Yeah. All of this stuff. So then we get stuck in traffic. He is still talking. I am like having actually a conniption in the back seat. And I'm like, oh God. And I like slowly am pulling down the window because I'm like, I need air.
Yeah.
And then he's like, oh my God, if you need AC, why don't you tell me? And then he's like, adjusting the AC. And I'm like, yeah, like I think I just need some fresh air. I have extreme motion sickness, and like the man is just like so excited to like chat. So now we're 20 minutes away from Sam. Then he finally asked me for my address.
Yeah.
I gave him an address. He like puts it to a different place, like a different city. I'm like, yeah, like I don't think that's the right place. And then he's like tinkering with Google Maps. He's also driving, so it's making me a little bit nervous.
Oh no.
And so like I was like, oh, if you give me your phone, like I can like put in the address. And then literally from the back seat, I'm leaning over at this point. And then I'm like spelling out the street name, like doing all this stuff. Okay, great. Like we have the address in, we're on the move. We get closer to the city and he's like, okay, how do you want to pay? Mind you, I'm still super far away from home, 2 miles away from home still. I was like, oh, maybe he just wants to get the payment thing out of the way. So I'm like, okay, totally fine. I get my card out. I do the payment thing in the back, and then he goes, we're here. And I'm like, we are not here. He points at the Google Maps. And I'm like, we are the arrow and the destination is this point. So he was like getting confused between the destination mark on Google Maps and like where we were.
How does he never use a Google Maps?
I don't know. Like I don't. Maybe he's just like so familiar with other parts of New York that he doesn't need to.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay. So then in all of this commotion, he naturally navigates us to his church in Chinatown. Okay.
What?
Like Tribeca is kind of close to Chinatown. He just goes to his church.
What? Yeah.
And so now we're in front of the church. The man parks.
Oh my God.
At this point, I'm mildly scared. I'm like, oh no, I don't know like what's happening fully.
Yeah.
And he pauses and he goes, let's do a quick prayer. Makes me close my eyes, turns around, ensures that my eyes are closed. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do a quick prayer, because I was like, okay, whatever you want me to do, I just don't want to die. Like, I'm actually so scared at this point. Then he like, vocally says this prayer, and he's like, I pray for my guests to like have a good job and get a promotion.
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, thank you so much. Thank you for the prayers.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then he's like, okay, I'll take you home now. And I'm like, thank God. Like, thank God.
That is insane.
Then we're like pulling out. And he's like, I don't do this often. But then he hands me a church card. And it's like picture of Jesus, right? And he's like, here, like keep this in your wallet for good luck. Okay. God's always watching over you. And I was like, you know what? Thank you so much. Frankly, I could use this right now. So I was like, give me the card. Give me the card. Then go like back around the Tribeca area. He pulls up on the side street, not in front of the building. And so then I was like, oh, this is totally fine, but I might have to do a couple runs just because I have like 3 bags. So then he was like, oh, no problem. I'll help you with your bags. So I was
gosh.
thank you so much. Like,
Yeah.
that's great. That's
Yeah.
really nice. I don't have to make 2 trips. This will save me some time. At this point, it's 10:50. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So he parks the car. He's like crossing the street with my bags.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like following him with 2 of my other bags, whatever. And then he's like, oh, like, which one's your building? I was like, okay, that one is my building. He's like, okay. And I was like, okay, let's roll. Like, you know what I mean? Like, let's move. Then he was like, no, you stay and watch the car.
What?
And I was like, you want me to stay and watch the car? Okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I need to make sure it doesn't get a ticket. And I'm like, okay, yeah, fair point. I'll watch the car. So he takes my bag. Mind you, my building doesn't even know me because I haven't moved in yet.
Yeah.
5 minutes later, the man finally comes out. And then he's like walking towards me, and I'm like, okay, great. And I'm like getting anxious because I'm like, I have like 2 minutes to fucking make this meeting.
Yeah.
And then I just like start walking towards him. Then the man starts running towards me. He's like, oh, like hands up in the air.
What do you mean?
He's like, hands up, running towards me, ready to hug me vibes. Okay, and I was like, oh shit, the man's ready to say goodbye after our hour and a half journey from JFK. So I was like, okay. Like, I give him a hug. Okay, I'm like, what? We're hugging. We're hugging. And then this was the cherry on top of the cake. The man plants one on my forehead.
No! Oh,
He
God.
gives me a fatherly kiss on the fucking head.
I am so...
In my head, I am like, I need to shower.
Oh my
immediately.
God.
Like, I've been on a flight for 13 hours, been at the airport waiting for my bags, and then this man has kissed me on the head.
Ew.
And so I'm like,
God.
I need to go shower.
No.
But anyway,
That
was the most chaotic
crazy
taxi
story.
journey I've ever had.
That is so crazy, and I hope it can never get crazier than that. Like, that's it. That's
It was the detour to the church that I was like, what is happening?
Yeah, I would think I was getting taken away. Like,
Yeah,
that
I'm
is so
this
scary.
At a point, I was like, this is my end.
Okay, well, that's kind of scary.
I think it was just...
Yeah, he might have just been like an old school man.
Yeah, I genuinely was like, I think this is just how he operates. Like,
yeah,
he's just a grandpa. And he's been doing this for so long.
Yeah, that's squish. But I don't know.
There's
Still a
elements
little
that were
scary.
squish, elements that were a little scary. But that was my airport story.
Wow. Well, that was a really wild ride, and I wasn't even on the ride.
But anyway, now
Okay.
on to our topic of the day, which is balancing and trying to make the most of our summer without, completely falling off track in all aspects of life. So let's get into it.
Correct. Okay, so one of the biggest pillars of this, I think, is feeling physically healthy throughout the summer. And I think there's a lot of different facets of that, whether that be like trying to stick to your general workout regimen, eating well. Also, the more you travel, the more your body just gets like weak and like you're more exposed to stuff, so you could potentially get sick more quickly. So in general, I feel like taking care of your physical health tends to be a little bit harder during the summer.
Yes, definitely. And I think one of the main reasons I find it super difficult to like be super healthy during the summer is because just of all the travel, and we're constantly moving around. There's like a period in July where it's like back to back to back, like every single weekend we have places to be, things to do. And it's like, how do you go to these places, manage your time there so that you don't feel shitty coming back? It's like you've already fallen off like a routine schedule, and now you have to like just really find pockets of time to like put in fitness and like think about what you're intaking and how you're moving your body. But it just becomes lost in the sea of plans and the sea of things to do and like work, balancing everything, that I'm like, oh my God, the first thing that I feel like suffers during the summer is definitely the physical aspect. But something we talked about is that it's also the most stressful time for body image, just because
to
it's
look
like,
your best.
Exactly, look your best, feel your best.
It's such an added weight, I think even more so as females, because all of these trips, well, in the summertime, you're already wearing like dresses and shorts, showing off more of your body, and then all of the trips are like, let's go to the beach, let's do all these tropical vacations, and you are somehow supposed to be like looking your best while you're also balancing all this travel. Every time you go on a vacation, you're not going to be like eating a salad for every single meal.
And you shouldn't be.
You shouldn't be. Yeah. But like, it's just really easy to get into a headspace where you're like, oh, I feel gross. You know, like you're in that point where you're constantly comparing yourself to one another. So in general, I think it is almost like a lose-lose situation. You're so looking forward to all these trips, but then you might just like get into a mental and physical state where you're just not feeling your best because of all the pressure you put on it. I know I've definitely felt like that several times. There's a way to find a balance. I think we're both figuring it out a little bit, but like I've been trying to dissociate going on vacation from, like, I think I used to think of it as like, this is the time I get to fully treat myself, eat whatever I want.
Enjoy.
Yeah,
every
completely
moment.
Indulge in like everything I want to do. And now I'm like, I definitely want to enjoy, and I will. Like, I want to have those nice meals out. I want to, like, when I went to California, I wanted to have In-N-Out. I did multiple times. Stuff like that are experiences I never want to give up. But, like, even without the physical aspect of it, I generally feel gross, like, at the end. I have a very weak stomach, and I will feel nauseous in, like, 10 minutes once I eat, like, something that isn't the most healthy. So finding a way to balance that, still getting your water intake, still trying to eat somewhat healthy foods for part of the day, like, getting your steps in, like, stuff like that has helped vacations feel slightly like more in my routine, or like those are still parts of my routine that I keep in the day-to-day that I can incorporate even when I'm on vacation.
Yeah, and I think as we grow older, we find the healthy things that we actually enjoy. For us, I feel like, you know, something that we really enjoy is like getting a smoothie out, and I feel like those things can also be incorporated in vacations, but it's also like a treat for you. Could just really help. And like obviously this is just occasionally as you listen to your body, like if you're not feeling
if that's
great,
what your body needs that day.
Yeah, exactly. And like the small swaps that you can do, for example, if you're in a city, just walking the mile instead of taking an Uber. But just in general, listening to your body and finding small things that you can do to make that transition back into your normal life as easy as possible.
I completely agree. I also think that little things that I've been trying to do while coming to and from trips or like home and stuff is just setting myself up for success. So like literally we used to have Instacart. I would just like Instacart my groceries while I was on the bus back. I know every time I come home, if I didn't do that, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go do the classic Taco Bell order at like 9 p.m. Which is great, and it does hit every once in a while, and I like still won't give that up completely. But if I just had some groceries, so then I can come home and at least like for breakfast the next morning have stuff ready to go that I can eat that are a little bit healthier. And also that just make me feel good. Like the past 2 months I've had pretty intense like stomach problems. It is extremely frustrating, and if anyone's ever going through a form of a chronic health issue, I empathize so deeply with, I don't know, especially at this age, that frustration and like almost form of hate that you have for your body for like putting you through something like this. However big or small it is, it's always just, why am I like this and everyone else is not, you know, whenever you have whatever weak part of your body. But like I've been really trying to change my mindset about it because it honestly just contributes to the problem even more. And so kind of thinking about it a different way, like I used to love, or I still do love spicy food a lot. And I have to cut a lot of it out right now for like my stomach problem. And I've been finding different ways to like make food really flavorful with herbs and stuff that I've never really used in the past, or like things that wouldn't be my go-to. I'm trying to incorporate them now. Little swaps like that, from unhealthy to healthy, or like something you can't consume right now to something you can, like changing that mindset. I've made like a bunch of different recipes, very fulfilling, that I'm able to eat and not have, you know, pain from. And I don't know, it makes the entire experience a little bit easier. So I'm trying to apply that in like a bunch of different facets of my life. You can definitely experience those periods of frustration. They're never gonna fully disappear, but like you can also enjoy the process of what you're going through to make yourself feel better. At the end of the day, taking care of our bodies is our number one priority, and without that, everything else in your life is in flux if your body's not okay, you know? So
no, I completely agree. And I feel like something that like we both recently went through, just like recovering from COVID, I just didn't expect like this type of recovery period from that. And everyone's body obviously reacts different to it. But I was just like smacked with the most fatigue and exhaustion that I've ever had before. I can sleep 8 hours a night and still need to take a nap in the middle of the day to keep it moving. Like, I've never napped so much in my life. And then when I tried to go on a run last week, I was not even able to run 1 mile without like huffing and puffing. That was something I could do, like, regardless of how long it's been since I ran last. Like, I would be able to run 2 miles pretty easily. And I was like, oh my God, I'm like actually winded from these runs. And just building that stamina back and listening to my body when I need rest, I think is like a huge thing. That whole experience just like slowed me down. That was something I definitely needed from before too. I think my body's been kind of running on overdrive just with all the stuff that we had going on. That was just a sign for my body to actually slow down and like get the rest it needs, because I mean, now I'm happy to like say that I feel the most well rested I have in a long time, even though we have a lot going on this summer. So what your body needs will change, obviously, like from week to week even.
I completely agree. Like, recovering from COVID was just like, you must learn patience and like paying attention to like when you need to rest, and like not expecting your body to just bounce back from what you just went through. So yeah, I think putting in that extra love and care, whether it's in your day-to-day routine or even when you're on vacation, finding ways to do that, even if you're traveling back home or like there's always ways to incorporate a little more self-care into your day. And I think that's something we just are trying not to lose sight of this summer.
Yeah, and just one random blurb that we just wanted to say was just get your appointments out of the way. Go to the doc, go to the dentist, check in with yourself, but also like check in with the professional and just prioritize doing those things. I don't really think about all those things until I have a moment to breathe. Honestly, I think during COVID, I was like, okay, I need to get like all of these appointments.
Usually it's when you feel not great, and then you're like scrambling to get all this stuff done, and doing a little bit of like preventative TLC is always important. It's also, I completely understand that it's an extra step of effort. It's time consuming, but in the long run, just maintaining those things can really, really help. Yeah.
Nice. That was the kind of the physical component of all this, but as we all know, there's also a huge mental component of summertime. I think something that we all go through is just the comparison game in so many different aspects, and I feel like it's almost elevated during the summertime just because you are seeing everyone and all of their plans and like all of their social lives, everything just kind of blasted on social media. And it's also just like the sun is staring at you, and like no one
you
wants
feel like
to
you
be.
need to be on the streets every day because the weather's good, there's sunlight.
And you want to be. Like,
you want to
be.
But you want to be for yourself. Figuring out when it's actually something you want to be doing. Like, I want to be outside, I want to do XYZ activity. Versus like, oh my God, they're outside, they're going on vacation, they're out with their friends. What am I doing? I'm so lame for being at home.
Yeah.
I feel like those are two different things. I've been trying to like mentally check myself to be like, what do I actually need right now? But yeah, the comparison on social media is so toxic in every facet of life. I think summertime, it's so amplified because people are like posting 10 times more than they normally do. It can feel super like isolating and like lonely at times when you feel like everyone has a million plans and you might not. Or also like another area that we were talking about that is really sometimes hard to keep like consuming is outfits. Like, oh, everyone's so put together wearing like all these amazing clothes, or they physically look like so good all the time, and it's just this layer of stress when you're doing something that should be more fun, like shopping or like putting outfits together or whatever, getting ready. Like, I want those types of things to be fun for me, not stressful because I don't feel like I'm on trend or like looking like the influencer I saw on my feed this morning.
Yeah, those types of comparisons are honestly the ones we don't really address too often, but I think once we actually like, think about how they're making us feel, and like no, like these things should be fun. They should be more freedom of expression, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like wear what you want to wear
what makes you feel good, be comfortable.
Doesn't need to be, I don't know. I've been honestly, since moving, I do not have a closet. Neither of us have a closet.
Yeah, me and Priya legitimately don't have closed closets.
And so I'm still buying stuff here and there, but I think something that actually stops me from buying stuff is I literally don't have anywhere to put it.
Where would we put it? Yeah.
So, do I even really need this? Probably not. Or let's donate some more clothes before we buy things. And I don't think that's bad. Like, I'm almost grateful to not have a closet right now because I feel like I would just be like panic buying a bunch of stuff, which I normally do in the summer, honestly. I'm always like, oh, I need like 50 new dresses and XYZ thing. And I barely wear half this stuff, or like I buy things that are on trend that actually aren't flattering on me, and I'll just keep it. And it's just wasteful. It's not necessary. And I think being more critical about what you actually want to wear or how to make new outfits with the clothes that you have, like I'm really trying to do that more this summer. But in general, it's a mentally challenging time to be on social media and like feel like you need to like meet every single bar that they set for you.
Yeah, and like touching more on this like socially, it's just like, are we making the best use of our time? Are we just sitting around watching TV all the time? Are we catching up with all of our friends? Do we have fruitful relationships? Are we spending enough time with our families? I think it's like conflicting priorities that way too. I know for me, it's like I need to go home. And I feel like it becomes exponentially harder to go home in the summer. Mind you, me and Priya, for context, like go home basically once every 5 to 6 weeks. Like,
oh yeah, even more frequently.
Yeah.
Times.
Yeah. And it's like I just spent 3 weeks in India with my family. I spent like a whole week in Chicago with my brother and sister-in-law and my cousin. And now it's like, okay, I'm getting ready to go home next week to spend time with my parents. And it's like balancing all of that and like also being in one spot for more than a week or 2 weeks at a time is like really hard in the summer. Socially balancing all your things that you want to do, people that you want to see, but then also having enough time for yourself is so difficult. Being aware of when you need alone time and taking that alone time is so important.
Oh, don't get me started about alone time.
Yeah, like it's Priya's literal favorite thing on the planet.
Favorite activity.
Just understanding that it's just pressure and it's not necessarily real. Like, and also that different people need a different amount of social interaction.
Yeah.
You know, like I think that is something that I'm really trying to understand because it's just a different personality. Like not all of us have to be constantly social all the time because some people just really thrive off of that energy and like they need that to keep themselves going. But like other people need more alone time to keep themselves going. And just listening to that is so important and something that I'm honestly still working on because sometimes I do find it difficult to say, no thanks, like I just kind of want to hang out alone on a Saturday. Like,
no,
you know what I mean?
That hits so deep. That is the most deep comment. Because literally...
We're getting emotional over alone time.
No, literally, that is so key. I feel like I've had a mild, like, existential crisis the past couple months because I have needed and I'm still currently needing a lot of alone time. I think sometimes it's scary to feel really drained after social experiences with people you love and care about. That has been kind of like a startling experience for me that I maybe haven't had too much of in the past, where like I'm literally hanging out with like my best friends, but like I can feel that I'm not myself, feeling so drained and need alone time. But like, I don't know, it's a very complicated thing because you don't want to feel like you're losing yourself or like losing your friendships. I think that paranoia comes into play sometimes, but all of us have phases of our lives where these things change. Like sometimes you may be in a season of your life where you have so much to give and like can be the most social person in the room, have a ton of energy, and other seasons of your life you need more reflective time or need time to just relax. Also, your alone time doesn't need to be only productive time. Like I think sometimes we're like, oh, I have alone time to do like 50 of like the errands I've been like pushing off, but like that's important, but it's also important to just have alone time to rest and do whatever that means for you to like rejuvenate yourself and build back up to get to that season where you're super social and can give more to others. So I'm just trying to be more compassionate with myself in that regard because I think it can be like a tough thing to go through. Like it's kind of like annoying that like right now I need probably the most alone time I've ever needed and it's the summer and I
it's the most social time.
It's the most social time, but that's okay. Like whatever you need at whatever point in time is what you should give yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that like transitions well into the small things that we do to actually bring us joy. And some of the things that I do to like bring me joy are just like things like ice cream bring me a lot of joy. And I think doing those things on weekdays and like taking a walk on a weekday, walking the Brooklyn Bridge on a weekday. We're really close to Brooklyn Bridge now from
we need to do that.
Our location. And it's just like doing small things that legitimately take 30 minutes and is so accessible to us. Those are the things that we do that we enjoy that actually rejuvenate us, especially at the end of a work day. And I think just utilizing our weekdays as much as we utilize our weekends and just knowing that I feel like sometimes I need a reminder that I don't work a 9 to 9 and that even if it's personal work from like 5 to 9, that's still work. You still need to account for breaks and account for real personal time on your weekdays too. And especially in the summertime, it's important that you give yourself the time to do that and like actually enjoy the sun when it's out. But just capitalizing on that and making a proactive effort to make sure your weeks aren't lived for your weekends. You know what I mean? That's something I'm working on aggressively because I can't live this lifestyle where I am grinding from Monday through Friday and then once the weekend hits, I feel like I need to do absolutely everything that's going on that weekend. Then it just feels like my weekends are also on schedule, and I don't like to feel like that.
Yeah, and honestly, it takes the pressure off the weekend. And I think we both just want to live for, like, the small moments.
Yeah.
I don't want to be waiting for something extravagant to, like, feel joy. And so, yeah, like when we went and did like our Froyo walk, we ended up walking like literally 5 miles. So we were all kind of wrecked at the end of this walk because we walked so far. But we got like Froyo on a Wednesday after work. And that was so fun. I think it was just so different from the normal routine, and breaking up your post 9 to 5 life and doing something a little out of your routine can really switch things up. Eating dinner at a different spot. We have a rooftop in our current building. I think that would be really fun. Or like going to the park to eat one day. So then you just are able to have moments of enjoyment in your day to day, not put so much pressure on the weekend or on vacations.
And I think the last element that we kind of wanted to talk about today is just work. Something that does occupy 40 plus hours of our week. Priya and I were talking about and have been talking about is just how it's so easy to be distracted right now. And you're like sitting at home, staring at the sun. I am not nearly as productive during the summertime. And I think a lot, like that's a normal thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's hard to like focus on work, keep like delivering. I feel like the winter and like even fall and spring seasons just seems like a hustle period for some reason. And everyone's just on their work grind, especially in New York. That's like the vibes you get here. And then in the summer, like people are just out and about more. It's harder to focus. But also, like, since we've switched to a more remote culture, you feel like you can do all of these vacations because you're remote and you can, like, bring your laptop wherever you go and just, like, always be logged in and, like, working during your vacations. Recently, I've noticed that it just kind of, like, sucks the fun out of vacation a little bit. Because I'm like, dang, I gotta work. And, like, even if we say that we're, like, distracted and at work, we're still working. Like,
we're still doing
9 hours a day. Like, we're still, like, fully, like, accountable for what we're doing. We both work for relatively, like, smaller companies. So, like, there's just a lot of, like, ownership over what you're doing. And you can't fully step away and, like, unplug. Versus, like, when I used to have, in my previous job, have, like, set amount of days that I could take off and, like, wasn't allowed to work remotely, then I would be like, great, I'm taking off. And I, like, completely don't have to work for these XYZ days. So it's kind of, like, a double-edged sword because I love the ability to go to different locations or maybe like work from a friend's place, which I wouldn't have been able to do without the remote option. But also like I miss the full freedom of getting to take full days off and like just not be tied
fully
to
detached.
I want to feel that detachment every once in a while. But a couple things that we've been doing to just switch up the work days during the summer is, one, trying to work in different places.
Hotspot is like a great thing if you have a strong enough hotspot to just move it up to your rooftop for a couple hours. If you have a common space, if you have a coffee shop near you, a park near you, it could be really nice to just get like a breath of fresh air and like a new scene. Another thing is just working in the same room as your friends. I think me and Priya do this all the time. When we're distracted out of our minds, we're like, we legitimately need a babysitter right now. We need someone to watch our every step because, wow, we are so distracted. Obviously, there's times when like we cannot be around each other because we're very, very chatty. But then there's other times when it's like we are deeply, deeply scared and we need to work.
And honestly, it really helps to just be like, okay, we're both going to just sit in silence and work here for 4 hours and then we get
like,
a lot done.
Your breaks are like more fun because you can have 5-minute, 10-minute chat breaks here or there and like it just keeps you accountable and it doesn't make you feel like you're the only one working, especially when we're working from home and we're all in our separate rooms at our desks. It's nice to know other people are also working, and that just motivates you. And I think that's one of the main reasons I even like go into the office, is because seeing like motivated people around me always motivates me more. So naturally that helps.
I think we've talked about this in multiple episodes by now, but like your work is just not your identity, and constantly enforcing that in your mind, so key. It's very easy for us to get detached into like, we are what we do. That's completely not the truth for everyone. Like for some people, maybe it does take up a big part of your identity. For other people, it doesn't, and both are equally respectable. There's nothing wrong with either side of the way you work. So like, if it's not something that you love to do your entire day, that's completely okay. And you can find other things that do that maybe aren't work, you know? So like, I don't know. I've just been trying to tell myself that.
Detaching yourself from that and understanding it's just a part of your life, not your entire life, helps you just like also work better. The fact that it's my entire identity and like without my job I'd be nothing, like that mentality is so constraining. Like my productivity, even, because it puts pressure on things that like don't need that much pressure attached to them. And I think I honestly work easier when I'm just like, okay, work is one part of my day, not my entire day. So we just wanted to kind of chat about some of the things that we're actively thinking about this summer. But
Hot Girl Summer includes alone time and walking and a little bit of junk food and healthy food, and it includes it all. It's Happy Girl Summer.
Happy Girl Summer. And on that note, our favorite summer activity, we have to end it on that, right? So, Priya, what's your favorite summer activity?
Mine's boring.
Okay, what is it?
My favorite summer activity is walking.
Okay.
But two specific types of walks. I like to do like evening walks with friends. That's one of my favorites. And just like chatting. We live next to the water. Always my favorite thing in the world. And my second favorite summer activity is listening to music and just like walking alone and vibing. That is
I love walking
thing.
alone and listening to music. It's so relaxing.
It's literally the best thing in the world. So
amazing.
What's yours?
I think one of my favorite summer activities, also on the boring spectrum, would just be park sits. They're just like the easiest activity to just find any park. There's so many parks in the city and even in the suburbs. And you can just like sit there, bring a picnic blanket, bring a snack, bring a book.
Oh my god, we just had a very successful park sit.
Yeah.
But we should do another reading themed park sit. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of like sometimes I think there's a lot of pressure also to talk a lot, like when you're with your friends, and like I don't know, sometimes I'm just like, let's just sit in silence and not say a word. Sit in each other's company, but like
you don't want to be alone, but you also like literally don't want to speak.
Like there's nothing to say. And I've been annoying the fuck out of Priya and being like, what's hot and happening? Like,
I know. She asked me this
what's
question
fun and fresh?
every 3 hours.
What's fun and fresh?
What's fun and fresh? I'm like, listen, in the past 3 hours, both of us sitting in the same room, doing the same activity, nothing is fun and fresh.
I know. I'm just trying to find things to chat about because I'm like, oh my God.
We don't need to chat.
Yeah, and then I had this realization that, in fact, I don't need to chat all the time. It's because I started saying this when we had COVID and we were not
quarantined.
Leaving the house.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, because I was so bored, out of my mind.
Yeah, and nothing was fun nor fresh, but...
And just a little plug for our next episode. It's about to be revolutionary, you guys, I gotta say. I gotta say.
Fire. Not to hype it up too much, but also so much hype. So we'll leave you with that fun cliffhanger.
Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you next week.
See ya.
Bye.